most of the pictures of me as a child that my family took were of me standing at the refrigerator with the door open, looking in, trying to decide what to eat next. And I was always hungry. The only time I ever stopped snacking was to sit down and eat a meal. But now, once I changed to raw foods, I found an interesting thing happen. As the quality of my foods improved, the quantity took care of itself. And so did the hunger. I'd eat a raw meal and I'd be satiated. I'd be satisfied. There's many scientific reasons for this. Among them are that the sugars and fats are readily available to the body and they become satiating foods. Another is because of the nutrient density in the food. A lot of hunger we find now is not driven by a hunger for calories. We know that most Americans have plenty of calories, but it's actually driven by a hunger for certain nutrients. And because raw foods are more nutrient dense, they tend to be much more satiating. And so now I eat my breakfast, I eat my lunch, I eat my dinner, and I never, ever, ever am tempted or interested to eat in between meals. I used to be concerned because I was congested, and now I'm never congested. I used to be concerned because I didn't have as much energy as I thought I should, and now I have energy from first thing in the morning till last thing at night. I used to be concerned because my skin was bad, but now it's marvelous. There were so many problems that I had and I just lived with that all went away when I started eating raw foods. But they were just warnings of things that were going to get worse if I ignored them. Instead of ignoring them, and instead of treating them, trying to suppress those symptoms, what I did was stopped participating in the cause of those symptoms. And I find now that my energy, my strength, my athleticism, my temper or my temperament, my ability to bodybuild, virtually my body fat has gone down, my muscles have gone up. I run faster, I'm stronger, I have more endurance than I had 25 years ago as a college athlete. This issue is about my health, about the environment, about the ecology of the planet, about animal rights. This issue is about me being able to perform at my best, stay on an even keel, to keep my temper good, to always experience good digestion. And I find that when I do the things that support me, I feel well. If I eat the things that I like, but I know they're going to harm me, well, it's just not taking me where I'm trying to go. For people who are still attached to their cooked foods, I'd say eat them, but eat less of them. Eventually, they won't be so important to you. A lot of people have problems eating raw foods, but for different reasons. Most of them having to do with the fact that they have deconditioned themselves to eating raw foods. Most people don't have problems eating fruit. And what I'd suggest is that they increase the amount of fruit in their daily diet. And most people like salads. And again, what I'd suggest is they increase the size of their salads. People don't know how much raw food to eat. We know from experience and practice how much of almost any food that we're going to sit down to at a table, how much it's going to take to fill us up. You know how many slices of pizza it takes. But most people don't know how many oranges to eat because they have no experience in that. They don't know how to make a meal of oranges. Raw foods tend to be very water rich. It makes the foods less calorically dense. In other words, there's more water in them. And so they're filling, but you're not eating as many calories. And it becomes a learning process to learn through practice and experience how much raw food to eat when you actually sit down to a meal of raw food. Most people are surprised at how much food they're allowed to have or they can have and still be losing weight. It's a remarkable gift. People like the taste of it. It's something that children gravitate towards. They don't have to be taught to eat it. The reason people tend to like the taste of cooked foods is because of the things we add to the cooked food and not the cooked food itself. We actually cook out the flavor. But raw foods are nutritious, they're delicious, they require no preparation, they're environmentally sound, they are economical. If a person were to add in the hidden costs of cooked food, they'd see that it's really much more expensive than raw. If you take a sweet potato, which in its raw state doesn't taste sweet at all, and you cook it, it comes out tasting very sweet. This is an example of caramelized sugars. Caramelized sugars have an effect in the digestive tract of extremely rapid absorption. They get into the bloodstream quickly and cause a rapid rise in blood sugar, which must be responded to by the adrenal glands putting out what is called epinephrine, which pushes the pancreas to produce insulin to deal with this increased sugar level. This rush of sugar that comes in from caramelized starch will eventually either wear out the adrenal glands or wear out the pancreas, leading to what is called chronic fatigue syndrome if it's the adrenals that are involved, or leading to diabetes if it's the pancreas. When we heat proteins, what happens to the proteins, we were taught this in school, it's common knowledge, is that proteins are denatured when they're heated. And a denatured protein, according to a medical dictionary, is something that is no longer usable to the human body. In fact, the human body recognizes denatured proteins as not only non-viable, but as foreign proteins, something to be gotten rid of from the body, to be attacked and gotten rid of. And so the body fights against the consumption of foreign proteins by making an extreme surge of white blood cells. These foreign proteins have been linked to diseases as far-ranging as arthritis, heart disease, and cancer. When we eat fats, the chemical linkage, the bonding in the fat itself changes, and the fats go from unsaturated fats to saturated fats, single bonds to double and triple bonds. And these are, again, unusable to the human body. They cannot be utilized. What nutritionists teach is that we're looking for a ratio in our fat consumption of 20% saturated fat and 80% unsaturated fats. But in heated fats, the ratio is usually between 80 to 100% saturated and 20 or less percent unsaturated. These saturated fats are linked to heart disease, they're linked to hardening of the arteries, and they make the carrying of oxygen through the bloodstream more difficult, and they are already known to be carcinogenic. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats all become harmful to us once they've been heated. As far as the micronutrients of vitamins and minerals and enzymes, coenzymes, antioxidants, phytonutrients, all of these are also destroyed at various temperatures. The traditional medical approach is now estimating that 80% of all of our health problems in the United States are caused by the foods we eat. I think that all of us want better health for our family and better health habits for our friends and family than we even want for ourselves. Maybe part of this is because it doesn't require that we change, but that they change. And so it's very tempting to want to convince other people to take better care of themselves even before we've done it ourselves. I've found in my own experience that the most powerful way that I can influence other people is not by telling them anything, but by the way I live my life and the results that that has in my life. When they see me eating simply and being well, when they see that I'm never sick, when they see that I always have energy, I'm in good spirits, eventually they start to look at my plate and see the relationship. And the biggest way that I've ever had to successfully influence my parents or the rest of my family to eat well has always been by me setting a good example for them. Sometimes that's a little frustrating for me because they don't change as quickly as I would like them to change. But that's got to be up to them. They're big people and they can make up their own minds. If I try to pull them along, they're going to pull in their heels and resist. But if I offer suggestions and I do it in a really loving, friendly way, most people are willing to at least consider the information that I'd like to put out to them. And then it's up to them to make up their own mind.